Hello friends, and welcome to this video that will teach you how to model for Hytale using what in my opinion is the world's best modeling program called CraftStudio. Let's go. And just so you know who's going to teach you, my name is Alawan. I am 48. You're probably the oldest Hytale fan out there. I'll be your instructor and also consider myself a audio visual artist, musician, complete one-man band. Yes, with recorded CD and everything. A video game developer, website maker, I don't know, that's how you probably call it. A little bit of a programmer, just a little bit. And recently doing 3D Hytale models. Yes, very hyped. And I'm also fluent in 3 languages. That's English, Portuguese, which is my native language, and Spanish. Well, before teaching you how to model, let me just explain 2 things for you. Number one, why model for Hytale and what's the importance of using CraftStudio as your number one tool. So we don't need a crystal ball to know that Hytale is going to go through the stratosphere, right, in popularity, right? So the biggest happiness with Hytale is how it just gives you, I would say, complete freedom to do whatever you want. Number two, why use CraftStudio and what is the importance? So CraftStudio was the key tool for Hypixel when it started creating content for its own game. So they liked it so much that they called the developer of CraftStudio to also work for them, and so they made it even better, and they gave it a simple name called Model Maker. But despite the simplicity of the name, Model Maker is the intelligent son and successful from CraftStudio. And equally, or doing the same as CraftStudio, it produces 2 basic model shapes, and those are cubes and planes. So CraftStudio is the perfect tool to create models for Hytale without you going wrong. So to be honest, until today, in the world, and I've downloaded probably most all of the 3D modeling tools, I have not seen a most speedier, most practical, and most light program for modeling in 3D than CraftStudio. It is the go-to tool that I suggest to you. Also, CraftStudio is 3-in-1. Not only can you model in it, not only can you animate in it, but you can also create a video game in it. Go do that in Blockbench, go do that in Blender. You will pull your hair out. There's no way. Having said that, let's learn how to make models in CraftStudio for Hytale. You can download CraftStudio in the description below. So after you have installed it and after you have opened it, it's going to ask you to write the name of your project. Go ahead, write it, press OK, and now you're going to understand a bit of the tabs of CraftStudio. Your project with your models, they are found in the list there towards the left. So you press that so you can enter. And after you're given a name, you can press on that button according to the picture to create your first block. After you've given the name for your first block, you can then press with the mouse around the block, at the same time pressing the Alt key, and you will be able to rotate that block. Now notice that the block has its base on the floor, and that's the position 0. Now its central pivot point, its central point, is at 32 pixels above the ground. That's why you see the number 32 there above towards the left. The position of any block is always given from its center point or its pivot point, okay? This first block could be the top part of your table, for example, could be the head of a human or an animal. It could be the number 1 block of the hierarchy, I guess that's called, of all the other blocks that could be associated with it or connected to it. So in CraftStudios, since you'll be creating blocks, and the blocks will be composing your creature or NPC, for example. So you'll be having arms, legs. So then the blocks that will connect to that, for example, the lower arm and the hand, those will be connected to the shoulder block. And if you rotate the shoulder block, then all the blocks move along with it. Now, if you look under where it shows the positions of the block, you'll see that it says sheet size. This is where you're going to choose the size of your texture, where you see the white square down below. So the sizes are from 16 to 16, 32 by 32, 128 by 128, 256 by 256, and so forth. Below what's written on the sheet size, you'll see written unwrap mode. So that's referring to the faces of the block, so that you can manipulate those faces on top of your texture. That's an awesome thing. And we have three modes. We have the full mode, the collapsed mode, or compact mode, I would say. And then we have the custom mode. So let's explain each one. So zooming in the texture sheet, you will see 6 little squares. These are the faces of our marvelous cube. In this full mode, you see all the 6 sides of this face and that they are connected. Do you perceive that I have chosen the front part and that this face is surrounded by the other faces as well? So whatever you draw on that front is going to appear at the front of the block, obviously. And so if you were to draw on the square right next to it, to the right side, for example, it will also show on the right side of the block. Same to the face that is on its left and to the face that it's on top of it. Now the other two that are left are the topmost on the right and the one further to the right down below. So the topmost right one is for below the block and the one below that is for behind the block. So now the most important, why is this mode important? It serves a lot, for example, if you would like to draw different things in all the faces. And you probably understand that better once I explain the other modes for you. So now let's go to learn the compact mode or collapsed mode. This collapsed mode makes all the faces become one. Why is that? It's simply, if you like to just, whatever you draw on the front is going to be drawn on all the other 6 faces. Simple as that. Then let's go to the custom mode. Now this custom mode is great because you can detach all the faces. For the first time, you can detach the faces and just put them wherever you please. This is great, for example, if you are creating, let's say, the left side of a car, and you would like to not have to draw the right side of the car, for example. So what you do is get the left face of the block, put it on the left texture of the car that you drew, and then all you got to do is slide the right side of the face of the block on the same place where the left one is, and you just got to flip it. For flipping, you just use the other buttons that you see below there. It looks like a little triangle that's facing upwards. That will flip your texture horizontally, and the other one will flip your texture vertically if you need to as well. Also, those buttons there that you see that look like they are actually 0, 90, 180. Those are to rotate the texture. That's an awesome thing you can do. All right, let's move on. Well, all those good things, now we are left to just one bad news, and that's because CraftStudio does not have an undo feature. Yes, I know it's very sad, but bear with me, you can override that. You can overcome that. All you got to do is clone your model. If you clone your model, you can then work on your original model, and any mistake you make on the original model, you still have the copy that you cloned. To clone a model, all you got to do is click on the icon that looks like a little house, and then you click on the model that looks like a little doll icon, and you choose the model. After that, you go to the icon that has a little arrow pointing towards the right. Then you give a name to the clone. For example, if you make a model that's called car. So when you clone it, just call it car2. That way, if you mess up car, you still have car2. And if you indeed mess up your car, go to car, then you delete the car, right? Go to car2, rename it as car again, clone it again, so that if you make another mistake on it, you still have, see, so that's how it goes. Any models that you have, you need to clone so that way, you know, you'll be safe. Exporting and importing your models. CraftStudio allows you to export in 5 formats. Besides those formats, CraftStudio also has a unique format that's called the .cs model. This format is not really for exporting or importing, but it is its native format, and the only way you can work with it is if you know how to program and code and stuff like that. There was this guy who created a converter for Blockbench, and he converted that .cs model to Blockbench. But when I had the chance to speak with him, and I asked him, why did you not use the JSON format, which is much easier, that CraftStudio exports? And he told me that he didn't know about that format, so he went through the trouble of having to do a converter based on this binary model. Anyhow, let's learn how to export. So from these 5 formats presented above on the picture that you saw, 4 are exported by the editor, by the model editor, and 1 is exported using the administrative tab. So to export in one of these 4 formats using the model editor, you would have to write below that dialog box, you write /export space obj. That will allow you to export to .obj. Very much used in many other 3D programs or 3D game making programs. But if you like to have your model for Hytale, do not save it as obj, because Hytale will have models that use a hierarchy. It's hard for me to say that name. So then the other export format you have is /export space JSON space model. That will export your model in a JSON format. The other one is called /export space JSON space animation. That will export your animations. Isn't that amazing? And lastly, you can do /export space texture. That will obviously export your texture. And of course, you can work with your texture on your favorite paint program. I use PaintNet, which for me, just like CraftStudio, is the most practical, speediest, or fastest program for creating 2D art. Now, to import in the 5th format, that is the format that you really share with other CraftStudio users, that format is called .cspec. So for that, you need to go to the little house icon, and after that, you will press on the cog wheel. That will take you to the administrative tabs. From that on, you'll see the export/import tab, and from there on your left side, you can just choose your model to export. Just click on that model, and then after that, you have to go to the icon that has a little arrow pointing to the right. That will export. Now you see that other icon that has an arrow pointing towards the left. Well, that will allow you to import the same .cspec that maybe a friend of yours have shared with you. And that, my friends, ends up this tutorial. I hope you liked it, and please share with your friends so that they learn as well. Now, there is a big surprise waiting for you at the description below. Go and check it out. Thank you very much, and I'll see you soon.